Hey guys, what's up? It's FalseBulls123 and welcome back to my channel. Now I want to show you a few cute things before I get started with my March wrap-up. First, look at this shirt. I'm fucking loving it. Don't remember where I bought it from. If I do remember, I'll put a little thing in the editing. But basically it says my neck, my back, my naughty children's sack, and honestly, mood bitch, okay? Mood. You're wondering, what's these sparkly things that are messing up the fucking white balance? Honey, those are candles. I have those occasionally. Maybe you've seen them on my TikTok because apparently you're into that shit, you absolute freak. This one is Evening Fireside Glow by Candlelight. I guess that's a brand. And the other one is vanilla, and I bought it at Bath & Body Works when I got cologne. So, that's some teases. That's like whatevs. But, yeah. So I read 4 books in March, and I read an entire webcomic because apparently I have exactly 0 chill. And that's just really what's up. I really haven't been reading too much. Something that I'm trying to get a little bit more on the nose about, but I've just been doing other shit. Most of it's been dating, honey, okay. Your boy needs to get some, and he has on a semi-regular basis. But, I'm still looking for someone that actually wants to go on a second date with me, so, but that's neither here nor there, okay? But, let's talk about books, okay? Fuck your stupid love life, Ryan. No one gives a shit. Let's talk about books. Okay. So, also, these are all kids' books because, like I mentioned last month, I've been rereading all of these, old children's books that I've had so I can get them to my cousin. This is what the books... this is what the box of my cousin looks like. So it has some stuff in there. It is getting thicker, like my ass. That was stupid. But yeah, I'm filling it up. I'm getting there. So I think next month, after I finish up the TBR that I've set for myself, I'm going to be starting a kind of choose your own TBR. This is an egg basket. I've mentioned this. It's like an old-timey thing you shove eggs in. And each one of these Easter eggs has a book title in it. So that's how I'm going to be selecting my TBR in the future. But I still have a little secret TBR that I've been working through and stuff like that. Not for a video, just I have a pile of books that I want to read before I tackle these big boys because I'm a lazy bitch. So, now that we've gotten all the fucking preamble out of the way, let's actually talk about the books I read this month, Ryan. Oh my goodness, it's like you're a booktuber, but you never fucking shut up. So, the first book is James and the Giant Peach by Roald Dahl. It was made into a major motion picture, which is what the art style on the front is based on. I've seen the motion picture. I didn't love it. Not because I thought it was a poor adaptation of the work, but just because I didn't really vibe with the animation style. It was a little bit just too out there for me. That's just my personal opinion, though. If you like the movie, go off. What's it about, Ryan? James and the Giant Peach is pretty easily explainable. It's about a sad kid whose parents are dead, and he lives with shitty, ants, and they basically beat him every day and give him crusts of bread and throw him in a basement, real Mary Sue shit. And one day he's just going along, being a mopey emo bitch because his life is horrible. And this old guy comes from a bush and is just like, hey, do you want magic? And he's like, bitch, yes, give me some magic. I need some whimsy in my life. And so he's gonna go, drink this magic potion that he got from Weird Hobo, become the Ubermonsk, murder his aunts, and flee to, the sea where he can live out his days counting the sand or some shit. But oopsie daisy, he trips, all the magic shit goes in the ground, and he's like, well, fuck, there goes my one chance of happiness. Until oopsie daisy, the peach tree that has never bared fruit because it's sad just like everything else in his life, is suddenly growing a gigantic peach, the size of a house. And you're like, wow, that house-sized fruit is probably never going to be important to this story. But you would be wrong. Because basically shit happens. He goes inside the beach, he gets a found family full of fun insect friends, and he also, by accident, murders both of his aunts in a horrific crushing incident involving a giant peach. So that's basically the first chapter or something, and he goes on this wild, wacky adventure where he's in a peach, and he's doing other things, and it's just a fun time. And honestly, it's definitely the more, out there of Roald Dahl's, plot lines. And you're like, Ryan, you literally told us last week about a book that involved a guy making a magic potion out of shoe polish and turning his grandmother into the 60-foot woman. But honey, That's some passe shit, okay? It doesn't involve cloud people. No, it doesn't. This shit is peak Roald Dahl whimsy. Honestly, I think I prefer Roald Dahl's more realistic, or I guess more grim dark, like, books, but I do enjoy a lot of what James and the Giant Peach has to offer. I would say that that James and the Giant Peach is definitely geared more towards a younger audience. A lot just because of the characters and because it features quite a bit more of his very classical Dahlsian verse, which is something that's very unique to his writing style. I will now give you a dramatic reading of Dahlsian verse, as it is called in the academic circles. And Sponge was terribly fat, and tremendously flabby at that. Her tummy and waist was the soggiest paste, it was worse the place where she sat. So she said, I must make myself flat. I must make myself sleek as a cat. I shall do without dinner to make myself thinner, but along came the peach, the beautiful peach, and made her much thinner than that. And so, that's just, a lovely ditty about murdering your aunt who beats you every day. Fun shit. So I'm going to move on, mostly just because I can't think of anything funny or clever to talk about James and the Giant Peach anymore, because I'm a trash YouTuber. Next up is, you've seen this on this channel, because for some reason I keep rereading it for no fucking reason, it's the Ghostmobile by Kathy Kennedy Tapp. And yes, that jump cut was because I forgot her name again. Basically, here's what up. There's a bunch of kids. They're from Madison, Wisconsin. They go to some other place in, like, North Carolina or some shit. And they're like, wow, this fucking sucks. There's no TV. There's no Wi-Fi. There's no fucking friends out here. I'm going to die sad, alone, and penniless. And so they're having some teenage angst until one day, oopsie daisy, two people who died tragically in a car accident are just like, hey, we're ghosts. You want to help us not be dead and shuffle literally off this mortal coil? And they're like, awesome is pretty boring, so let's just do that, Let's help break the natural order. And so they're going about that. That's kind of like, the main conflict of the plot. What I like about this book is it has really solid characters. It really, I think, has just a really relatable main protagonist. I definitely related a lot to this character growing up, not just because we share the same name, which is always weird when a book character has the same name as you, but also just because I could kind of understand, like, where he was coming from, even if I wasn't into baseball or, like, any of his other interests. But I could definitely feel that, like, this was a character that I definitely related to as a kid. I can definitely understand the character's motivations now, and I think just as stories go, Tapp has a really good sense of creating characters that you can really vibe with. And so, as, a children's book goes, it does have really good characterization. You really understand why the characters do things, how the characters feel about each other, their dynamics, and you don't always get those, characterizations in children's books. So, honestly, honey, good shit, okay? This deserves that little tiny apple on the back, because this is high-quality shit right there. I enjoyed it. Next up is a classic, and honestly, looking back at this is horrifying. Is, your classic story about a pig who is coming to the realization that he is going to be horrifically murdered and then consumed for his flesh. And that's just a story that we tell to children. It's like, hey, little Timmy, do you want to talk about animal curling? What's that, Daddy? That's when you see an animal that's not as good as the other animals, and you murder it. Why would you do that, Daddy? Because scarcity. Who the fuck wants to explain that to children? Apparently E.B. White, because that's what this fucking book's about, okay? Charlotte's Web is about the story of a pig named Wilbur. And Big Daddy, whoever the fuck his name is, it's like, you know what? That little pig is tiny. He ain't ever gonna be a tasty sausage. I'm going to murder him so I don't have to waste my food on him. And his daughter's like, hey, Daddy, that's a little fucked up. Can I take care of him? And Daddy's just like, oh, wow, girls, you want to deal with the futility of life? Okay, boo, but that's on you. And so she raises this pig, but guess what? She can't just have a baby pig as a pet. That's some fucking bullshit. So they send Wilbur over to her uncle's house, and she spends a lot of time with him. And about maybe a couple months later, Wilbur has has consciousness because he's an adult now. And he's like, wow, I'm going to die horrifically this year. And that's some mortal terror that I have to deal with. Okay, dokie. You know, I just love conceptualizing my own mortal death. Such fun children's themes. Basically, Wilbur makes a friend with this spider named Charlotte, and Charlotte is a stone cold salty bitch, and we love her. Okay, we love her. She is the saltiest, just sarcastic bitch ever, and I love her. There's like this one scene where she's talking with Wilbur, and the sheep is just like, oh, by the way, fam, you're gonna die soon. And Charlotte whips her hair around. She looks over, and she's like, hey, bitch, we're trying to have a respectful conversation. You know, something with class, something you're not familiar with. And I'm just like, ooh, honey, spill that tea. Okay, ooh, honey, snap fucking back, Charlotte. Okay, this is why you can read and all those other fucking animals can't. Okay, because you need to get that salt, bitch. Honestly, I really love Charlotte's character in this. But enough memeing, let's actually talk about the thing. So one of the things I really liked about this book was White's use of imagery. He would have these portions where he would like have these very long lists of like different things, very much sort of an aspect to aspect sort of transition in imagery, if you understand what I mean by that. So it reminded me of books written during the similar time period, like The Egg and I by Betsy McDonald, where they would have this very clear emphasis on things like nature, on what plants were growing, the seasonality very specifically. And you see a lot of descriptions of that, like, you know, in Charlotte's Web. You see a lot of descriptions of that in like stuff like The Egg and I, which literally has an entire chapter on seasonal canning, which I'm not even going to get into because that's not the point of this fucking video. But yeah. And I like things like that. I thought the characters were decent. They were pretty fun. They were pretty, like, you know, just static. Since it's a kid's book, so you're not really looking for these really in-depth character motivations, you know. It's mostly the relationship between Wilbur and Charlotte, and that's kind of the main thing. Honestly, I don't find Wilbur to be that engaging as a main character. He's kind of just there. He's very passive in his own story. But, you know, it's really someone that is... The story really boils down to having a strong and loving friendship. And so it's like, yeah, sometimes you need help in life. Sometimes you can really appreciate what people do for you. And it's mostly supposed to just be a heartwarming story about a pig that doesn't want to die. And so a spider's like, hey, don't believe what you fucking read in print. We're going to fool all these fucking humans because they're stupid as shit. And then she does. And honestly, I kind of love everything that comes out of this woman's mouth because Charlotte, once again, is a stone cold savage bitch. And we love that for her. Okay, sweetie. I'm going to move on to my last book of this month, and that was Lunch Money by Andrew Clements. This is a harrowing tale about a man trying to become a capitalist and create a monopoly in a specific niche market, and then coming to the realization that children and other members of capitalism are constantly bombarded by advertisements at all times to become a cog in the consumeristic machine. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry, this is about a boy who's starting a comic book company in middle school, you know, much less harrowing. But real talk, though. Basically, we have a character, his name is Greg Kenton. I think he's on the cover, that's probably him, who the fuck knows, okay? I don't, you think I know things? You're wrong. Greg Kenton, okay? His big thing is he is going on that hustling. He's always on that grind. He wants to make bank honey. And that's what he's going to do. Honestly, love that for him. You know, if you want to, like, you know, mow lawns, you want to get that coin, bruh. Get that bag, sis. But enough memes. Let's talk about the plot. Basically, this goes on talking about, like, you know, his character really characterizes him well. He starts a comic book, like, you know, company where he's selling these little tiny pocketbooks to his friends. Give me a fucking quarter, I'll give you a fucking comic book. This is called commerce, baby. There we go. Transaction. And then two things happen. One, his arch nemesis, Maura Shaw, is just like, ooh, baby, guess what? I'ma crib your market. I'ma come in here. It's called competition, baby, okay? You can't even handle this shit because you're not that good of a capitalist. And so he's fucking angry. Shit goes down. They start fighting. Also, can we appreciate arch nemesis that are opposite genders? This is nice. We want to see that. We love to see that equality hate-love relationship. Yes, baby. Also, comic books are like, not allowed at school because you're not allowed to buy things at school. Like, what? How dare you, an individual, try to affect the free market? No, bitch, that's only for giant conglomerates. Are you trying to use capitalism in a capitalistic system? No, honey. That's not for you. That's for rich people. And so they get together. They're like, okay, I actually like your shit. Let's make a comic. They do that. And then they're like, wait a second. We can't sell this shit. So they go and they interact with the municipal government. And yes, bitch, we love to see that. I want to see more children taking active parts in democracy in children's literature. Honestly, we should also do that. Please write your senators. I should write my senator. I haven't done that yet. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. But here's some real tea. Let's talk about what I enjoy about this book. Let's see. I do enjoy Clements' writing style, and especially the themes that he has, because this isn't the only Clements book I've read in the past. A lot of his stories involve children who are trying to change the world in their own way. Whether it's starting a school newspaper, or writing a book, or adding a neologism to the English language, as in Frindle. And so, in this case, it's about comic books. The way that I enjoy his writing style is that he'll have these sections where it is very much an interpersonal thing. You're having conversations, you're having a scene, but he'll also have these sort of third-person, omniscient sort of montages of characters doing things and talking about things like over a period of time. So, Greg Kenton at one point is discussing his plans for, his comic book, and it's very much feels like it is an internal monologue. In another section, it's very much more fly on the wall, where it's sort of going from an honest perspective, where Greg Kenton is doing all of these different chores for money when he's really young, and I just really love how it is written. So it's not so much a use of figurative language as more of a use of detailed language, of having these very precise, very specific details presented in such a way, in such an observational manner, that it feels very unique and very, accessible, especially in children's literature. And the writing style is one of the things I definitely enjoy about Clements' style. It's definitely one of the things that makes me really enjoy middle grade, and I like that it can hold up, especially when a lot of middle grade can feel very juvenile, but with Clements, it just feels very accessible, if that makes sense. Another thing I definitely really enjoy about this book, besides municipal democracy, yes queen, is its emphasis on comic book creation. And I really love that. I think this is one of the books that definitely sort of sparked my interest in comic books, because I don't really read that many comics, but I am very intrigued by the process of comic book writing. In high school, I was very much into Scott McCloud's Understanding Comics, making comics like that entire series. And so this book and those books and a few other books like that really got me into the idea of comic making. And I think it's really interesting because it actually gets into the technical process of how people make comic books and to a lot of other things. And so I love that Clements doesn't shy away from discussing technical, specific industrial aspects of his plot with kids, because he's just like, this is how you do it. And it's very much speaks to children like they're adults, speaks to them with respect, and I really enjoy that about the process. Just in the same way as his other books, he doesn't shy away from actually dealing with the technical processes, because I know as a kid, I loved reading about how things worked, I would read things about, steam engines, and I thought it was really interesting, because if it's explained in the right way, you can understand it. And that's one of the things I actually really like. I also like that, even though I will say that this is a very juvenile, because this is middle grade, discussion of, things like capitalism and wanting to be rich and things like that, there is a lot of discussion about what it means to want to be wealthy. Whether being wealthy is a good thing, whether or not there's a thing as too much wealth. And I actually like that, they pose these questions, like Clements posed these questions, because let's get a little bit political, guys. I'm a democratic socialist. So even though lunch money doesn't get into a lot of the deep, really extreme values of what makes capitalism so toxic, what makes it so untenable after a point, it does raise a lot of questions about how a person can have too much wealth, about how a person can choose a high-paying job and yet choose to make less money because it betters the community. it talks about a lot of different things. And it also, at one point, actually discusses how children are advertising about. How children are yet another target, yet another victim of prey in a capitalistic market. And it was really interesting because at that point in the story, Great Kenton looks at himself and says, am I yet another capitalist? Am I yet another person who wishes to exploit not the worker, but the consumer? And so that was really a turn of point where he has to really consider how business is not always commerce, that business is sometimes an exploitation. And so I think that was a really great thing to discuss in children's books. It actually raised that question to allow children to think about whether or not becoming rich is such a big thing. Because as a kid, everyone wants to be rich. Anyone who's not born rich obviously wants to have a stable, comfortable life where they want for nothing. I think that is a fairly relatable aspect for most people to want. And so having a character who's very much focused on that goal and question, whether or not, his goals are worthy or whether or not he's approaching his goals in the right way is something that's surprisingly deep for middle grade, which I really enjoyed. So I mentioned I also read a webcomic this month. That was Wintershins. Okay. I classify it as a gaslight fantasy story. The author classifies it as a series of lighthearted Victorian era adventure stories, which, you're not wrong, sweetie, but, go off. And I would get into it, but actually I already did that. What? Is it self-promo time? Honey, it is. And that is for the second episode of the Spaghetti in Motion podcast. Is on our Spaghetti in Motion podcast channel. I will put a link down below. Okay, go check it out, sweethearts. If you don't know what that is, because you haven't been watching all of my half-hour long videos like a fucking plebe, I'm sorry, excuse you. Spaghetti in Motion podcast is the podcast that I'm doing with me and my best friend Seaweed. I don't have a picture, so I don't know why I did that. But basically, we're doing a podcast together. This was the second episode. We were discussing 7 Deadly Sins adaptations. His was Fullmetal Alchemist, mine was Wintershins, and I get into it a bunch on, the episode. So go check that out. I had a lot of fun doing it. We're going to, we're kind of sporadically, making episodes at the moment. He's trying to get, a better setup so that we get more crystal quality audio. And it's coming together. It's just something we do for fun. But, yeah, I think that was it. I know I didn't read that many books in March, but it's whatever, okay? It is fucking whatever. Before we get into the outro, I did want to show you my TBR for April that, I guess now that I'm telling you it, I have to read these books. What? Fuck that. Deadline's ill. And those books are A Chuck and the Rotten Willie by Bill Wallace, Santa Paws, get it? By Nicholas Edwards, The Chicken Doesn't Skate by Gordon Corman. Oh, I love this book. And then The Crucible and Endeavor Salesman by Arthur Miller. So I'm going to try to read those books in the month of April. They're all pretty short, so I think I can do it. I'm going to try my best, sweeties, but, if I don't, what else? What the fuck? Is the booktube police going to come down here and be like, you didn't finish your TBR? I'm just like, honey, nobody finishes a TBR, but yeah, those are the books I'm planning to read. Those are the books I have read, and I think that's pretty much it, right? So, anyway, guys. So, guys, just as a little test, just as a little, to see if you've gotten to the end of the video, I would love for you to tell me what your favorite vegetable is in the comments. Or, just leave me any type of comment you want. Tell me if you like my shirt. Tell me that you don't like my shirt. Tell me that I'm an ugly fat piece of shit that shouldn't be making booktube videos. Whatever you want to tell me. It's all good. I like the engagement. I need the engagement. Other ways you can help me grow my channel is, of course, I know, oh my goodness, Ryan, everybody says this, but you can like, comment, and subscribe. What? What? That's a thing? Yes, please. If you've watched a couple of my videos, please do subscribe. I'm trying to release about twice monthly. Haven't been getting it done, mostly just because I've been working on this really big project for, a new project for, YouTube. And it's going to take me a while to edit that video and then edit the videos I'm filming today. So we're going to get this, sweeties, but I'm trash, okay? I'm trash, but I'm fun trash. So if you like fun trash, subscribe. Okay, I'm going to start shouting myself out, so I'll stop promoting you and tell you this. Remember, Wash your hands, tell your loved ones that you love them, and live every single day trying to be a better person. It's False Bulls 1, 2, 3, and you guessed it, I'm signing out.